Camp exploits. Just think of it, cried Suman. Our first camp. For 5 days we'll be entirely on our own. Suman's best friend, Rashmi, nodded, but not very enthusiastically. How could she tell Suman that she was scared of being away from home? Are you scared? Asked Suman. Don't worry, I'll be there. I know, Rashmi squeezed her hand. If you weren't going, Mama would not have sent me. We're 15, old enough to look after ourselves. Don't you worry. We'll have a lovely time. All our friends are going. If only Lovey wasn't coming. Rashmi looked hard at Suman. No one could understand why Lovey and Suman hated each other. Suman felt that Lovey was interested only in her looks and boys, while Lovey called Suman that rude, bossy girl who thinks too much of herself. On Friday, the girls were in high spirits as they got into the bus heading for the camp. Mrs. Lai, their teacher in charge, made a request. Please don't start singing till we have passed the busy part of the city. In half an hour, the singing started. Everyone joined in. Lovey's clear, thin voice was the most prominent. She shrieks, commented Suman. After the group had sung all the popular hits, there was a lull. Rashmi nudged Suman. Sing that one you sang 2 years ago at the party. Which one? Asked Lovey. Oh, you wouldn't know. It's a song Suman made up, Rashmi replied. Oh, so she composes as well. Lovey's tone was sarcastic. By now Suman had turned beet red. Geeta saved the situation by starting another song. Rashmi turned to Suman. I'm really sorry, I don't know why I opened my mouth. But that song was really lovely. Oh, nonsense, said Suman. She had every reason, though, to feel gratified. No one was allowed to see her diary, which was full of her outpourings, as she called them. Soon they were at the campsite. Mrs. Lai gave instructions. First, we draw lots for teams. There will be 5 teams, 7 girls in each. Lots were drawn. Suman and Rashmi were happy to find they both were in Team 3. So were Geeta, Seema, and Asha. Geeta came running with the bad news. Guess what? We have Lovey in our team. Suman grimaced, but said nothing. Leaders were chosen. Suman was to lead Team 3. The teams will get points FOI each event, announced Mrs. Lai. On the last evening, there will be a cultural program, each team presenting 3 items. Only original items, please. Now time to assemble for dinner. When they retired to their tents for the night, Suman suggested a ghost story session, but the other girls were not interested. What's the matter with everyone? Suman asked irritably. Don't you know they are all feeling homesick? Only you and I aren't, said Lovey. Suman did not like to be in the same category as Lovey, but it appeared she was right. Her 5 other teammates were feeling miserable away from home. So she retired to bed in disgust and spent half an hour writing in her diary. Suman was an early riser. At 6 o'clock the next morning, she was wide awake. She nudged Rashmi and said, Let's go for a walk. Rashmi got up reluctantly. Where are my shoes? Suman asked loudly. Who is making such a noise? Lovey, awakened by the noise, looked around sleepily. Then she saw Suman. I thought as much. Who else could it be? But for once Suman did not retaliate. As they set out, Rashmi patted Suman. Good, you're learning to ignore her. They walked through the woods. Rashmi pointed out to her friend all the birds she could identify. When they got back, their teammates were still asleep. Get up, everybody. Didn't you hear the bell? We'll lose points if we are late. Suman was their leader, so the other complied. Suman turned to Lovey. Today you'll be on tidiness duty, she told her. Lovey could say nothing. Team 3 was ready in record time and were the first to savor the piping hot porridge that Team 2, on breakfast duty, was serving. "Oh, I don't want breakfast. I never eat it," Lovey said. Mrs. Lai overheard her. "Nonsense," she said. "We're going to have a strenuous day. No refusing of food, please." Suman looked triumphantly at Lovey, but did not say anything. Team 3 was ready, waiting for Lovey to finish tidying the tent. Lovey came up to Suman holding a book in her hand and said, "Oh, I found this while tidying up." "Thank you," Suman said coldly, taking her diary. "You write rather well. I read that poem. There's beauty in the sunset." Suman's face went red with anger. She slapped Lovey hard. "What's happening here?" Mrs. Lai's shocked voice broke the silence. "Suman, there is a limit to which you can carry your dislike. You must apologize for your conduct at once." Rashmi glanced at Suman and her heart sank. When Suman looked like that, nobody could reason with her. She understood Suman's sensitiveness about her diary, but that was no excuse for slapping Lovey. Mrs. Lai spoke again. "Go to your tent, Suman, and don't join us till you apologize to Lovey." Suman's face went red with anger. She slapped Lovey hard. "What's happening here?" Mrs. Lai's shocked voice broke the silence. "Suman, there is a limit to which you can carry your dislike. You must apologize for your conduct at once." Rashmi glanced at Suman and her heart sank. When Suman looked like that, nobody could reason with her. She understood Suman's sensitiveness about her diary, but that was no excuse for slapping Lovey. Mrs. Lai spoke again. "Go to your tent, Suman, and don't join us till you apologize to Lovey." Rashmi grabbed the diary. "Listen, Suman, I know you don't like that girl," she said. "But don't you realize that, if you don't apologize, our team doesn't stand a chance? You're the team leader. For heaven's sake, stop being so selfish and, for once, think about others, too." Then she turned and stamped out of the tent. The treasure hunt was on. Rashmi managed to solve one clue, but her mind was not in it. She kept thinking of what would happen if Suman did not apologize soon. Luckily, Ritu was very good at riddles, and Team 3 managed to win second place. It was their turn to help with lunch. Rashmi was busy serving it when she noticed Suman cutting fruit. So she had apologized, she thought with relief. Suman was subdued throughout lunch. The rest of the day they were kept busy with many events. The whole team met only after dinner in their tent. "God, what a day. I'm fagged out," Asha said. "But we have to decide about the cultural program." She turned to Suman, but she did not respond. Rashmi got up and collected paper and a pen. "Ideas from everybody," she said. "Let's do a dance," Ritu suggested. She was the only one of the 7 who could dance. The others thought it would be very difficult. The discussion continued, with most of the ideas coming from Geeta, Ritu, and Seema. "Lovey, any suggestion?" Rashmi ventured to ask. "Oh, I think we should do a fashion show," she said. "Oh no, not again. I hate fashion shows. They are so artificial. Females parading their bodies. It's not." Suman stopped suddenly. Rashmi was so angry she could have thrown something at her. Seema, always the peacemaker, said quietly, "I don't think it is a good idea. Adults don't appreciate it." 2 of the items decided on were a skit and a dance. Over the third they still pondered. Finally, Geeta said, "Lovey, why can't you sing a song?" Lovey looked round and said deliberately, "I'll sing only if everyone agrees." Suman just nodded. The others agreed. The next day, Team 3 did better than the other teams in all the events. Suman took an active part in everything, but hardly spoke. In the evening, the girls practiced for their cultural events. The skit was quite successful. Ritu devised a dance number in which the others had to do simple steps. Geeta kept asking Lovey what song she was planning to sing, but she refused to oblige. She disappeared to some quiet corner to practice. The most enjoyable was the poster event. Each team was given a topic and was required to produce a poster on it. The world of nature was Team 3's topic, for which Rashmi provided her collection of birds' feathers. The collage, with trees, flowers, and birds, was judged the best. Came the cultural program. The items presented were mostly songs and skits. Team 3's skit went off very well. Geeta was a gifted comedian and had the whole group in splits. And now the last event. Lovey came on stage with her guitar. Her clear voice filled the air. There's beauty in the sunset, there's beauty in the dawn. One makes you think of what has been, the other leads you on. So while you enjoy these precious hours, let no regrets cloud your mind. There's still the future, bright with hope, and many a rainbow yet to find. As the last strains faded, there was silence followed by loud applause. Lovey was patently uncomfortable, but managed to say, I did not seek the permission of the person who wrote the verse. I cannot tell you her name. Mr. San was quite surprised, but he was not to be fobbed off so easily. It was the best item, so I would request the author to come forward. Of course, it was wrong not to have sought her permission. Would she please come forward and share T&E credit? For, in any song the words, the music and the singing are equally important. Rashmi nudged Suman and practically pushed her towards where Mr. San was standing. He congratulated her warmly, saying, You should not hide your talents like this. Lovey too came up to Suman. She was looking rather embarrassed. I'm sorry, Suman, she stammered. I read that poem that day. You know I've only to read a thing like this once to get it by heart. I felt it would make a beautiful song, but I felt too that if I asked you, you wouldn't have allowed me. Would you? Mr. San was judging the events. He stood up and said, Well, I have rarely enjoyed an evening so much. One congratulate all of you on your performances. About the last item, I would like to know who wrote that beautiful verse. Everyone looked at Lovey. Only Rashmi, who had recognized the poem, looked at Suman. Shock was writ large on her face. Suman knew Lovey was right. It doesn't matter, she replied and, looking straight at Lovey, smiled. Lovey smiled back.